Okay, so one last thing I think that we can talk about is how articles are used in names. This is a question that people usually have and are very curious about. So let's think about that. So first of all, generally, normally, we don't have articles in names. And like personal names are the easiest example. John, Mary, David. Right now, I think it's most people won't make this mistake and use an article in front of these words. These words. We talked about this in the first article, and the first article's video. Why we didn't do this is because we don't have. In these cases, we also don't have particular instances of some category or type of thing. It's just a sound that is identified with a person. You can also identify with places. Berlin, San Francisco, Canada. You get the idea, right? Just places, cities, and well, let's put a state in there. Vermont. All right, so these are names of places, and these function in the same way as names of people. These are not examples of a category of thing. For each of these, you would say Berlin is a city, a country, a state, because, and here would say a man or a woman. And in all of these cases, we do have with city, with man, with country, we have a category of noun, a category of actual thing, with lots of different applications, and then we have a concrete example of that thing, and so we want to use an article. But if we just have this sound that we identify with a place, that is not there's not a category that we have a concrete instance of. Okay, that's very theoretical, but that's the reason that we don't use articles for names. Another example that surprises people a lot of the time is sports, and it could be other activities too. So, like basketball or sewing, also. Sewing is an activity. And if you say a basketball game or a sewing gathering or something, competition maybe, then you would use articles. But those are about the game and about the competition, and not the thing itself. So these are also just names of activities. Also no article. All right. So the biggest question people have is, why do we have articles in some names? All right, and United States, for example, UK, another ones, the Rocky Mountains, mountain range in the middle of the U.S., the Nile Delta, that's the D that's shaped by the Nile as it enters the Mediterranean Sea. the Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Black Sea. Okay, so these are actually all names of places that do use articles. So we use that. What do all of these things have in common if we think about it? Well, let's extend this. If you look, and let's save this example for later. And let's put one more in here too, Ukraine. If you look at these ones all up to here, all of them have as their last word a word for a just category of thing. States, it's a word that is for some type of thing that there can be very, very many applications of. This is not the case if you say like Berlin. Berlin is not like, it's not a word in the dictionary that you have a definition for that can apply to many things. Do you see what I mean? So mountains, you can look it up in the dictionary, and you have a definition for it, and you can have those anywhere in the world as long as they are in the universe, as long as they meet that definition in the dictionary. This is not the same as a thing like this. Berlin is just a sound that's identified with a place, but mountains and kingdom and states, these are words that are just ordinary words in the language that can apply to many, many different things. Delta is another example. Delta is, like I said, that kind of triangle that forms when a river goes into a larger body of water. Sea, obviously, that's a thing. Okay, so whenever our word or our name ends with one of these things, then we're going to end up using the inside of the name. So in all these cases, we did all these cases, all these examples, we have the inside the name. So every time we have this word here, then we have the in the name. So why is that? Well, when do we use the? If we use the when we're talking about a concrete particular case of something, where that concrete particular case of something is defined to the listener. So this is going to be the case for all of these ones. Let's see that in a second. So again, we have a particular concrete etc. case of a category now, and it's defined to the listener, isn't it? Okay, so what about these ones? Well, states, it's a noun category, normal noun category. And are we talking about concrete, particular real states? Yes, there's actually 50 of them. And those are, therefore, real, actual, concrete states that we're talking about. And if we use this word united here, then we define which states we're talking about. And the whole thing, therefore, is defined. Same with the United Kingdom. Kingdom is a normal word defined in the dictionary. If we use the word united in front of the kingdom, we should define which kingdom it is, and therefore the correct thing to do is to use the in the name. So we'll always see this when we have just a normal word at the end of the name, and we'll have some other words inside of the name that tell us which one of that thing that it is. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a very good name if we didn't understand which one it was, right? So in that scenario, the only correct thing to do is to use the word the here in the name, right? Mountains, Rocky Mountains, define which mountains. Nile Delta, define which delta. Black Sea, define which sea. Now, what about these ones, Netherlands? Well, Netherlands is actually a combination of two words here. One of them lands, and the other nether. Nether actually has its own meaning. It doesn't really have to. Nile here, for example, is just a name of a delta. Same with the Alps or Himalaya Mountains, for example. Now that would be another case, the Himalaya Mountains. So not the word that defines it doesn't have to be a normal word that you find in the dictionary, but the last word does. So it can this thing, which is a normal thing which you find in the dictionary, it's not a name. The last word itself is not a name. Can be defined either by a normal word in the dictionary, united or rocky or black. These words are all in the dictionary, or it can be defined by just some kind of other name without any other meaning. All right. And so, Netherlands. Nether actually does have its own meaning. It doesn't have to, but it does. And it means lower. And when you use this word in front of lands, it defines which lands they are, and they're the lower lands. These are real lands defined by this word, nether, therefore we should use the. Okay, Ukraine. Ukraine is a special case, but I believe that the translation of Ukraine is very similar to Netherlands, or similar idea to Netherlands, means borderlands. And this is the reason I believe that people say the Ukraine is because it has a similar kind of meaning as Netherlands, borderlands. So it's defined lands. Okay, there's one more thing. It's going to be the least clear, but we should address it. Names with dictionary words as the last word, but no article. This will be things like Union Square, Trafalgar Square, London. What are some other examples of this? Okay, things like lighthouse, point, or parks, Grunwald Park, Observatory Griffith, Observatory. So the only explanation I can really give you here is that Okay, the only explanation I can give you here is that with certain words, when certain words are the second part of the name, then we don't use articles. And the reason would be is that we kind of think of the thing as going together. This may not be the best explanation, but whenever there are some certain words here, and you just have to, I think the best solution, the best strategy is just to get used to just pay attention and try to remember which kinds of words that we use these kinds that we don't use articles with in names. Square is one of them. So if you have other examples of square, then you won't have the in the name. Point, park, observatory. There'll be some other examples. Museum might be another one. So it's not that easy, but you will have, we talked about here, if we have a normal dictionary word in the name, and we have more information that defines which one, we need to use the in those cases. In these cases, we have basically exactly the same situation, but we don't use the in those names, and it is just for certain words that we just think about it differently. We think about it just like as sounds that represent some place. We're not thinking this is a particular case of mountains or states or something like that, that we have a particular instance of that is defined. We're just thinking about it as a little bit different for certain words as the last words in those names. So you can memorize what these words are, but there isn't really a good theoretical reason for that. Most of the time, I think it will work this way. If you do have this normal word that you can find in the dictionary there, but you do have these other cases where that does not work. Okay, so there you go. Thank you.